Hey guys, it's Lando from the Snap Fantasy Football Podcast. I am your host today, and I am talking about the Houston Texans wide receiving core, including Brandin Cooks, Coutee. We got the tight ends, Darren Fells, Jordan Akins, even Chad Henson is in the discussion today. What to do with this receiving core? After Will Fuller went out, a lot of the fantasy community assumed that Brandin Cooks was going to be a league-winning wide receiver going forward. But unfortunately, that is not the case so far, and I'm going to kind of talk to you about why that might be the case. First of all, their schedule. Their schedule is rough. It is they have Chicago, Indy again, and then Cincinnati in week 16, so it's not too bad. Brandin Cooks isn't the kind of guy you need to sit right now, but if you still, for some reason, have a trade deadline, you could potentially trade him away for someone that really has bought into it. But I guess what I'm saying is we need to temper expectations for Brandin Cooks going forward. He played on 83% of snaps, and he was looked at for concussion probably in the second half of the game, maybe the fourth quarter. I can't recall at this moment. But either way, that is one of those things that Brandin Cooks has suffered with before. He's had multiple concussions. And if he has another one, if it turns out he has another one, he could be out for the season. So tempering expectations for Brandin Cooks is going to be a must. That comes into effect when you're starting or sitting some other guys. Maybe you need more high upside plays when you have Brandin Cooks already in your starting lineup. Or if you're considering sitting him down, if you can go for a higher upside play, like maybe a Colts wide receiver like Michael Pittman or Henry Ruggs or something like that. Well, that will become on a case-to-case basis, and if you need help with your start sits, you can slide into our DMs. We are snap_fantasy on Instagram and Twitter, and we can help you out if you are a Brandin Cooks owner and you have to figure out what to do with him in the coming weeks when there's tough matchups ahead. As for this Houston wide receiving core, Coutee played on 75% of snaps. He had the biggest game of them all. 9 targets, 8 receptions for 141 yards. Had a great game. He really fit in well of that Will Fuller role. We thought maybe Jordan Akins or Darren Fells would see a boost in targets. Maybe they would be a slot basically pass catcher, but it really wasn't an uptick. Duke Johnson was involved in the passing game. He had 6 targets, but didn't really have didn't have very many yards. He only had 4 yards per catch. He had a couple attempts on the ground, but he was used more in the passing game, where David Johnson had 10 carries, 44 yards, and 1 touchdown. That's kind of the stereotypical David Johnson day. We did see Chad Henson have his first game. He played 92% of snaps. 5 receptions for 101 yards. He is not startable in any league format. I would need to see much more work from Chad Henson going forward. We did see, though, that losing Will Fuller did not really hurt Deshaun Watson that much. He's still going to be an every week starter. He has the rushing ability. He's a baller. You kind of have to start him week in and week out, regardless of the schedule. But potentially, a guy like Brandin Cooks isn't an every week start, and Coutee has the upside, is what we've seen now. It's just, against in these tough matchups, I would not feel super confident starting him. I'm going to jump over to another wide receiving core that we need to talk about. That is the Indianapolis Colts receiving core, because TY Hilton has been a big receiver in the past 2 weeks. Against Tennessee, their first game, he had 5 receptions, 4 receptions, 81 yards, and a touchdown. This time he had 11 targets, 8 receptions, 110 yards, and 1 touchdown. So he's averaging a really good yards per catch. Since week 10 in Tennessee, it's been 10 yards, 12, 20 against Tennessee their second time, and then 13.8 yards per reception this past week. He has been a guy that Phillip Rivers is now looking for in the end zone. It wasn't a Trey Burton week this past week, and their schedule is pretty soft. They have the Vegas Raiders, Houston, they have Pittsburgh, which is a tough week 16 again for TY Hilton. But the really big decision has to be between Michael Pittman and TY Hilton. These past couple games, TY Hilton has gotten the best of Michael Pittman, but I still believe the 6'4", 23-year-old Michael Pittman, the rookie, still presents more upside than T.Y. Hilton. And why would you say that? Well, it's a big body target. T.Y. Hilton was basically droppable this season. He had a really bad year up until week 12. So if you probably just added T.Y. Hilton and you're happy about it, but T.Y. is not someone I'm looking to count on week in and week out. He is a spot start if you're desperate. If you had the injury bug, I could definitely see starting T.Y. Hilton in a spot start. Or if there's some kind of COVID thing, he has the upside of a veteran wide receiver, and he's now is starting to have a decent relationship with Phillip Rivers. But this whole Indianapolis Colts team wants to rely on the running game, and they run a lot through the air with Nyheim Hines getting some looks as well. Jonathan Taylor's been looking great, had 44 yards through the air and 91 yards on the ground. So I do believe still that with a banged up Phillip Rivers, he didn't want to get into the specifics of his injury. He's just playing through it. He's gonna bust through it, and I do believe that it's going to be more of a rushing attack by the Colts. And when it comes down to it, they want to get their rookie Michael Pittman involved, and he should be I still think he still presents a fairly safe floor, even though we haven't seen it so much lately. But he also presents that massive ceiling because he's a great athlete and an explosive big 6'4" athlete on that Colts team. So this could change throughout the week. Stay tuned to the Snap Fantasy Football Podcast. I will be doing live streams all week while I'm in quarantine, getting ready for the holidays. So make sure to tune in, like this video, subscribe to our channel, and we will see you next time.